Please rise for the Lord's Prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead us, our city, to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mayor Gitschier.
Here.
Council Duran.
Here.
Council Liang.
Here.
Council McDonough.
Here.
Council Mercier.
Here.
Council Nuon.
Here.
Council Robinson.
Here.
Council Rourke.
Here.
Council Scott.
Here.
Council Chow.
Here.
Council Dakota.
Here.
11 present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Any moment of silences? Seeing none, we'll move on to 2, Mayor's Business. 2.1, Communication, Remote Zoom Participation. Motion by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Nuon to accept and place on file. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 2.2, Proclamation, Motorcycle Safety Awareness. City of Lowell, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, by His Honor Eric R. Gitschier, Mayor of the City of Lowell proclamation, whereas it is critical for all Massachusetts citizens and visitors to our area to increase their knowledge of the rules of the road and the rights and responsibility of all roadway users. Therefore, I, Eric R. Gitschier, Mayor of the City of Lowell, do hereby proclaim March 22nd through April 30th, 2026 as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Period in the City of Lowell, in which all who ride an enjoyable and safety riding season. Reminding drivers to check twice, save a life, motorcycles are everywhere, and don't text while driving. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Scott. Would you like to say a couple words?
Thank you. Paul Cote from Amesbury. I'm here with Debbie Lee from Boston, but in memory of Anthony Clayton, who passed away 3 years ago with a drunk driver in Nashua, New Hampshire, crashed and hit him and his passenger on the bike, dragging him, and the truck exploded. That person is now serving probably the rest of their life in prison for it. And Arlene from Methuen, we were at Methuen last night with the City Council. They also have done their own proclamation. Arlene lost her 24-year-old son to a texting driver 2.5 years ago. She's had to put a muzzle on her because the criminal proceedings were pending, but that person recently pled guilty and is about 6 months ago. So she started Austin's Voice in his memory and is going around the state reminding people to text. Texting and driving affects both people. Same thing with all accidents. Usually people don't go out and expect to get into an accident, but that momentary loss of consciousness, of doing something else other than paying attention. Last year, 2025, there were 67 motorcyclists killed in Massachusetts. It was down from 72 the year before. Registry statistics show that more than 50% of the fatalities now are rider error, where 20 years ago when manager Golden was in the State House and helped us with the proclamation for the governor to proclaim every year a period for motorcycle awareness, it was about 80% was driver error. So we also, besides the check twice, we're kind of smacking our younger riders on the head and saying, stupid hurts. Riding irresponsibly does not hurt. And to be old and wise, we first had to be young, stupid, and survive. And we got to pass that on to our kids and our grandkids. So this is the third year you've done it. Thank you, Councilor Rourke, for your past 2 years doing it, and we appreciate it. Over 1,300 registered motorcycles here in the City of Lowell, and you got a great city here, so I enjoy it. Thank you.
Would you guys like to come up? Paul, would you like to come up for a picture with the city council?
It's a Huffy.
Beautiful. Awesome. All right. Nice big smiles, everybody. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Sorry. 2.3, proclamation, National Public Health Week. Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it is National Public Health Week. And with that, having said that, who better than to accept this proclamation than the co-op team who save lives each and every day. I know I've worked with them for a number of years in the sheriff's office. I saw them every morning go out and save lives, go to the different campsites that are outside and put people into detox, put people into, find them in a place to live. I'm amazed at all the work that they do. Just seeing all the things that they did tired me out. I was exhausted. If we could have the co-op team come up here, I'm very proud of them. Yes, yes. I want to present them with a citation, proclamation on behalf of the mayor, the city manager, the staff here, my colleagues in government. Whereas the week of April 6th through the 12th, 2026 is National Public Health Week, and its theme of Ready, Set, Action, which calls on each of us to look back at the progress we've made and look forward to the steps needed for an even healthier future, because one truth guides it all. Good health doesn't just happen. And whereas the 2026 National Public Health Week, and I think the health department, Ms. Golden, Lisa Golden, should come up here as well because she does a tremendous job. Yes. Whereas the good health just doesn't happen. Whereas the 2026 National Public Health Week marks the 31st anniversary since the organizer, the American Public Health Association, has created the annual campaign and has also created resources and educated the public, policymakers, and public health professionals about public health issues and policies. And whereas the Lowell Health Department's mission is to protect and promote the health and well-being of the people of Lowell through a variety of equitable public health services, and the health, safety, and well-being of the people of Lowell is future enhanced by the collaborative efforts of local government agencies, community organizations, healthcare professionals, and public health professionals. Therefore, I, Rita Mercier, on behalf of our mayor, Eric Gitschier, and my colleagues in government, do hereby proclaim the week of April 6th to the 12th, 2026 as National Public Health Week, and encourage all residents to observe this week by recognizing the contribution of public health efforts in our community, better understand the values of public health, and adopt the healthy preventative lifestyle habits, given this 7th day of April 2026 by our mayor, Eric Gitschier, City of Lowell. Thank you very much. And also Mara, yes, thank you, all the public health officials that do a yeoman's job each and every day, Mara, and there you go.
Motion to accept by Councilor Mercier, seconded by Councilor McDonough. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. If you'd come up and we can take one big picture. Come on up.
Wow, I hope you have a wide angle lens.
I think councilors can stand on the back where the city manager stands. Oh. I think she slipped. Yeah. Beautiful. Let's squeeze in like we all love each other just a little bit, all right? Beautiful. All right. Wonderful. Everybody see me? Beautiful. Nice big smiles for me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Thank you all. No, probably not.
It does.
2.4, presentation, Joe Jussaume, lead teacher for civics at Lowell High School regarding Lowell Civics Day.
Evening, everybody.
Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, Mr. City Manager, Assistant City Manager, and members of the Lowell City Council. By way of introduction, my name is Joseph Jussaume, and I'm the lead teacher for civic education at Lowell High School. On behalf of my colleagues, Caitlin Urban, Myra Cooper, Laura Schofield, Nicole Ganji, and myself, we would like to speak to the City Council about Lowell Civics Day. As some of you may remember, Lowell Civics Day began 5 years ago as a project to celebrate the hard work and dedication of City of Lowell students in action civics. It has grown into an annual celebration of that work. Each year, students from all of our 8th grade classes, as well as all of the high school US 2 classes, gather together to display the work they have put into their action civics projects. Students are tasked with identifying an important community issue, investigating its root cause, researching what has been done about the issue to date, and attempting to create a long-term sustainable solution for the problem. Along the way, students often contact members of the Lowell City Council, school committee, and various city departments as part of their research into causes and possible solutions. And I'm sure some of you guys have received emails over the last couple of weeks. All of this work culminates at Lowell Civics Day, which this year will be held at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium on Monday, May 18th, 2026. Your presence, if possible, means the world to the students on that day. To see members of their local government engaged in their work is so powerful beyond words. So we would like to extend a formal invitation to each and every one of you to attend Lowell Civics Day and mark it on your calendars. Once again, the date is Monday, May 18th, 2026 at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. The day usually runs from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and breakfast and lunch are provided. Mr. Mayor, if you would be so kind as to extend this invitation to the school committee at your next meeting, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your time this evening. We look forward to seeing many of you at Lowell Civics Day. Thank you.
Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Dakota, seconded by Councilor Chow. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before we get into the motions, if it's possible, I could suspend the rules and allow 6.1 motion A, happy to chat bench, to come forward, please.
Motion by Councilor Mercier to suspend the rules to take 6.1A out of order. Happy to chat bench, seconded by Councilor Robinson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Councilor McDonough, it's your motion.
Thank you.
Response.
I know, I was surprised. I was waiting for you to say there was a registered speaker because we took it out of order, but thank you. First of all, I really do, I want to make sure I thank Kimberly Gagnon and Steve Stowell, as well as everyone else in the administration that worked on this, as well as the rest of the folks at the Council on Aging, and I know there's more people involved in this than I could possibly name, so I'm going to satisfy myself with just thanking the two who I've named so far. I also want to make sure that I call attention and just reiterate that the Age in Action folks are absolutely thrilled. I got an email earlier today expressing just how happy they are. And I would ask everybody who is interested in this happy to chat bench, in the more important piece behind it of trying to fight loneliness and build connection, to stay tuned for what I am told will be an impending announcement on what is sure to be an exciting launch event. But I was asked not to say anything else right now, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough. Councilor
Yes.
Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While we're under suspension,
Oh,
if-
wait a minute. Motion
on.
to accept and place on file by Councilor McDonough, seconded by Councilor Robinson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Councilor Mercier.
thank you. I'm not trying to rush this meeting, but let me talk a little bit, Council. If I could, while we're still under suspension, if I could have 6.2 under informational reports, the very first one about Lowell High School structural remediation, please.
Motion by Councilor Mercier while under suspension to take 6.2 informational report, Lowell High School structural remediation, out of order, seconded by Councilor Nuon. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council is the piece that's sent by Skanska from Kevin Kane, I think pretty much speaks for itself, but I wanted to make sure that Mr. Kane was here in the event that anybody had any questions. So I'll leave it to the council right now. I think it was pretty brief in regards to what needs to happen in that area, but any questions, thoughts, or concerns that anybody would have, to bring it up to Mr. Kane. And the overall cost was $350,000. Thoughts and concerns? Which will be in the existing appropriation that we'd already voted on.
Anything from the council? Seeing none, motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Dakota, seconded by Councilor Duran. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Now we'll go back to the regular portion of the city council meeting. 3, City Clerk, 3.1 minutes of the City Council regular meeting, March 31st for acceptance. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Duran, seconded by Councilor Liang. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. General public hearings will be 7 o'clock. We'll skip that portion, go to City Council motions. 5.1, Councilor Nuon request Mayor Gitschier on behalf of the City Council recognize the month of April as the Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Child Abuse Prevention Month, and Victim Rights Month, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Nuon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the idea is to really raise awareness and honor survivors. Also reflect on the important work that we all do in the interest of public safety. I think, when we have these proclamations, we should invite the Hope and Healing Center and also Alternative House to jointly receive it because it happened to be they both doing similar work, one doing domestic violence and intertwined, so to speak, sexual assault as well. So I ask that we invite the Hope and Healing Center as well as Alternative House to be here when we have the proclamation. Thank you.
Mr. Manager, could we also light the bridges in purple for Domestic Violence Month? Is that what you would like to add, Councilor Nuon?
The domestic violence month, I think a few weeks ago we did that in the step of the City Hall that where we have usually had by the cities and the Alternative House. But this is intertwined, so to speak, not just domestic violence, but sexual assault and issues of, child abuse and all that, the other things. That House and Hope and doing that. The Hope and Healing Center doing that.
Do you want to do the bridges also, Councilor Nuon?
That's fine by me.
Mr. Manager, is that something that can be done? Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 5.2, Councilor Nuon requests the city manager reach out to NMCOG and the LRTA to present their findings in their respective report during a transportation subcommittee meeting. Seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Nuon.
I was asked by an individual who's a resident of Lowell. I know that there's been a study being done by the NMCOG as well as the LRTA. I believe that this finding certainly reflects both organizations that their dedication to improving public transportation service and ensuring that all communities has access to a reliable and efficient transportation option. So their report certainly is going to help us in terms of where we go from here, working in partnership with them. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nuon. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank Councilor Nuon for this motion. I have received a number of emails and a surprising number of people stopping me on the street to complain about some of these proposed changes. And so I think a subcommittee, taking this to the Transportation Subcommittee is a great idea. And I also just want to make sure that I know, as Mr. Clerk, as you said in the subcommittee meeting earlier, that dates are sometimes a moving target, but I think on this one in particular, making sure that the public is aware of when this meeting is and having a little bit of time built in for hopefully some public comment, because it would be nice if instead of just getting emails, people would come and also speak their mind when the people from NMCOG and the LRTA are here. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended a meeting in Chelmsford last night, and this issue came up. It was discussed. There is a study currently that they'll be undergoing, looking at a Lowell Nashua line. I know that's something that they want to do a study and initiate a Lowell Nashua line. For some reason, they've kind of dropped off going as far as Manchester, but I mean, even a study to look at. I know it's a heavy lift financially, but they are looking for Nashua to Lowell, so I think this is definitely timely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the City Council representative to NMCOG, I think I also want to make sure people are aware that all the NMCOG meetings are open to the public. The website has all the agendas, et cetera. The LRTA did present at the last, I think it was the Municipal Planning Organization group meeting at NMCOG. So the materials should be available, but I think having an additional focus here at the City Council or a subcommittee can make some sense also.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 5.3, Councilor Nuon requests the city manager work with DPD to provide the city council with an assessment of the vacancy ordinance compliance in the downtown. Seconded by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Nuon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was not a surprise that the city being recognized as the best place to live. Partly just look at what we tried to do in downtown, revitalize downtown, with a number of, idea put forth. We have, the pop-up program, and we have supporting for small business, as well as the business improvement district is moving forward as we speak. I know that last year we did institute the Vacancy Ordinance. I just want to know where we at. I know that 4 or 5 months ago we sent first letter to all the property owners and urging them to work with us to rehab the upstairs, because we believe that if you do fix the upstairs, certainly will create a foot traffic for the downstairs businesses, kind of sustain that businesses. So I just want to know where we at on it, and report on whether or not a second wave of letter being sent to property owners, and after that done, we can do enforcement and who's compliant, who's not, and what we're going to do with those who are not complied with the vacancy ordinance.
Thank you, Councilor Nuon. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you again to Councilor Nuon. I would also be interested in seeing the feasibility around expanding the enforcement of the vacancy ordinance, especially to some of the commercial districts that are outside of downtown. I think right now it seems to be working, even just with the first round of enforcement. I think it's gotten a positive response. I think it's having a positive impact. And so thinking about bringing that to the rest of the city could be beneficial.
If I may add, I think to the point that Councilor McDonough brought up by the managers as well, given that this is the start and we don't really know where we at on it yet. Certainly, an idea of Councilor McDonough bring it to the other district is certainly a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nuon. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to this Mr. Manager or Assistant Manager by his roles, has your team found this to be a valuable tool since it's been implemented?
Manager Golden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through the council. Short answer, yes. We've gotten people to respond to us directly. They realize that DPD is there to assist and help them. There are a couple people that have pushed back, but I have to say kudos to Assistant City Manager Baez Rose with her team for breaking through that and basically letting people know we are trying to help, but we're also not going to tolerate it. We've tried to help people to find places, and then, quite frankly, some what I would refer to as legacy policies have come right to us and said we're not prepared to move forward yet. So I think that overall we've made a big difference especially on the Market Street area, and we've gotten a lot of good conversations. Once again, from a fining standpoint, that's not what we're doing it for, but there unfortunately have been people that are unwilling to move forward, so they have been fined. But overall, I would say it's been a very positive discussion because of the amount of opportunity that DPD gives to the folks that own these places.
Thank you. And the reason I bring this up is because I know there's quite a bit of a demand for small retail space from the community. And I see some of the larger size buildings, especially in the Market Street area and some others in downtown Merrimack. I know another one that's been sitting vacant for quite some time that I don't understand what the logjam is with the property owner. But I mean, I'm hopeful that they'd be willing to look at the demand is there, and rather than letting their property sit for the tax incentive, we can get those kind of up and running again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you. I did just want to add, in thinking about the upper floor vacancy piece, it was on a previous council, and I believe it was Councilor Rourke that had the original idea, and I want to make sure he gets the credit for it when I say this, the vacancy ordinance is the stick. I think one of the biggest blocks to development of the upper floors downtown is the cost of installing an elevator shaft. And so while I appreciate put something in here or, we're mad at you, I think continuing to look at ways to help assist in what programs are available and trying to fund retrofitting some of these older buildings with elevators so that we can get, third and fourth floors to be accessible to all sorts of residents. So thank you.
Thank you, Council McDonough. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. It is now 7 o'clock, so we'll go to the public hearings. For general public hearings, 4.1 ordinance, amend fee schedule, waste, gives second reading. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Chapter 150 thereof entitled Fees by amending certain sections. The hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? That portion of the meeting is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? 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 That portion of the meeting is closed. Motion to adopt by Councilor Rook, seconded by Councilor Dakota. Roll call.
Mayor Gitschier.
Yes.
Council Duran.
Yes.
Council Liang.
Yes.
Council McDonough.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Council Nuon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
Council Dakota.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Going back to the city council motions, 5.4, Councilor Nuon requests the city manager work with the proper department to promote Lowell as the 2026 best city to live in Massachusetts and the third best in the Northeast by livability in order to attract more businesses, shopping, and tourism to our city. Seconded by Councilor Liang. Councilor Nuon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as I said earlier, we were recently recognized as the best city to live and work in. I think we need to take advantage of that opportunity by getting the word out. I know the managers and his team have, done some work already around that. Through other businesses, community investors and developer outside of Lowell, maybe outside the state as well, to more or less call them out and say, look, we are here. We are a city, as the manager usually used, the city of opportunity. And maybe not just city of opportunity, but opportunity in education, employment, and housing, right? You look at, the relationship that we had with all this university and Middlesex Community College, and as well as Lowell Public School, that there's no other places in the country that you can go from pre-K to PhD, like a pipeline creating opportunity for young people, those who go into high school, go into community college and or college after. You prepare them for not just a job, but career, and having the relationship that we had with Draper. I would suggest that we use Draper as our ambassador, a testimony of Draper, and said, Draper's being ambassadors out there in our ad and saying how wonderful Lowell is and how easy to work with in terms of partners and whatnot. And that's an opportunity, it's once in a lifetime. So you need to really capture that opportunity and use everything you have in terms of promoting, bringing new businesses, additional businesses and developers and whatnot come to the city of Lowell. Thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Councilor Mercier.
I just wanted to say, Mr. Mayor, that I think that's a wonderful motion. I know Boston.com had a beautiful article all about Lowell was named the best place to live in Mass and why. And they cited, ranked by livability, the Lowell Folk Festival, the Lowell Plan, Southeast Asian Water Festival, Lowell Music Series, Repertory Theater, Lowell Memorial Auditorium, the Whistler House, Western Avenue Studios, Lowell Alliance, the Hive, Public Market downtown. So many beautiful things that I talked about and emphasized each part of it, and the Jack Kerouac Center, and it bought by country singer Zach Bryan. So it's just was a beautiful article, and it really highlighted this city, and I was very proud. I had to print it out so I could read it over and over. It was just amazing, and so there's a lot to love about this city. You just have to get out there and find it, because it's right there in front of you. So I just had to say those words.
Thank you, Councilor Mercier. Councilor Liang.
Thank you. In addition, what attracts me about this motion is the tourism aspect of it. I know that every year we have friends travel to Africa, Europe, and Asia. How about if we can work with the local agency, a travel agency, and create some sort of a tourism area or attract more tourists to our city? Because I know there's a lot of things happening within the city. I mean, culturally, traditionally, and everything else that's happening. And there's a lot of things going on. Even UMass Lowell, Middlesex, and many other areas. Especially, you have many cultural shops all around the city that the tourists can come in and visit. So if there's a way that we can connect with local travel agency and come up with some sort of package that we can, work with, that we can help promote out there as well too, because we do know a lot of CBOs and other places that can help promote this kind of tourism, packages.
Thank you, Councilor Liang. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 5.5, Councilor Liang, request nonprofit organization subcommittee meet to support for services and funding to nonprofits in the city. Seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Liang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been getting a lot of emails about funding shortage, especially federal criterias. And I guess they want to voice their concerns about the 501c3 nonprofit and other places that they might be able to work with us in terms of, increase more funding, or if there's any other ways of getting more funding to support our 501c3. And thank you to Mr. Clerk, 5.5. I think that would be the date that we'll be meeting. So it coincides with that. Thank you so much.
Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm on the subcommittee of the nonprofit subcommittee, and I remember you as a councilor being the chair of that nonprofit subcommittee, and I found it very, very interesting, so much so that you put me on it with you. And now that you're the mayor, I'm on that committee with the chair, and I'm segueing what I have to say to the chair, because he can call a meeting, and I know that every so often would have a meeting and would highlight a particular organization, and I would love to have the Wish Project come. I don't know that we did that one, but I had the occasion to go there the other day with the sheriff's office, because we needed to get some clothes. I hope I'm not in trouble for saying this, for some of the women that are in pre-release. And the reason we do that is we do it every 3 months if there's call for it. There wasn't for a while. There were people that had family that brought them in clothes, but there are some now that don't have family that can do that. But the Wish Project came through. They were wonderful, and I just want to highlight, I don't want to say how great they are. We'll do that at your subcommittee. So if I could just segue that onto our chair, who could call that meeting and invite, I have all the information that you would need to contact them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Mercier. Councilor Nuon.
Rita's not shy, right? I remember the last term you were chairing, and Rita came to every nonprofit subcommittee meeting, and you chair, and you enjoy that too. But Rita, because you see Rita every meeting, you said, okay, now I add you to it, so the number 4. Now you don't have to add her anymore, right? That's good. So this is good nonprofit, giving that now federal government have a new directive. I know that a number of profit with regard to CDBG money have shied away from it because they do not want to change their mission just to appease the federal administration. I know also that during your chair of the subcommittee nonprofit, there's a number of there's so many nonprofit organizations in the city that have do a lot of good work, and that we have yet have opportunity to invite them. I could name a few, like Girling, like UTech, like CMA, and so on and so forth. There's so many. So Councilor Liang's going to have his handful. Every week he's going to have subcommittee meeting. Thank you. Nonprofit, actually, nonprofits.
Thank you, Councilor Nuon. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 5.6, Councilor Robinson, request the city manager have the proper department improve the lighting situation in the area of Billings Street and Barker Streets. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Residents of this area, I went over and checked it out. It's very dark. Also over by the old, I don't know if it's still active, the National Grid station over there. I think we got to get our eyes over there. There's illegal dumping going on, and it's been very dark in that area. So I know they have been and cleaned up a few times already this year, but it's back again. So, I mean, it's definitely a place to keep an eye on. Improved lighting, I think, will help chase out some of that stuff that's going on over there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 5.7, Councilor Robinson, request the city manager have the proper department provide an update on the empty lot on Hildreth Street and what long-term maintenance plan is in place. Seconded by Councilor Nuon. Councilor Robinson.
This lot has been, I don't know if it's in land court or what. We've been struggling to figure out something, but it's without fail. I mean, every year we're trying to figure out something to do with this lot. I don't know. I mean, can we take ownership eventually of this lot? It seems like it's abandoned. I know there's been, back when Attorney McKenna was working on a lot of this stuff, I think he had his hands on it, and I don't know where it's gone since, but it becomes an eyesore for the neighborhood, and then because it's privately owned, there's no upkeep or maintenance, so whatever we can do is greatly appreciated.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through the council. Council, thank you very much. It's right on Hildreth Street. I'm pretty confident that is still stuck in land court, but we're going to check that out and also check to see if we can clean it, and if necessary, clean it up and put a lien on it as well. But there is a problem. It's the same problem we've talked about last year. So we'll look into it again.
If you don't mind, Mr. Manager, in the motion response, can you include the process of acquiring property like that? What the city's process is legally for us to acquire property like that, just for clarity moving forward? Thank you.
Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's a good suggestion by Councilor Robinson, because I'm sure there are properties all over the city that are similar to the lot on Hildreth. I know there are more than a few in Pawtuckaville that we've actually discussed on the council floor before, and I'm sure every councilor in their district has something similar to that. So I'd be curious to see what the process would be, if it's just a taking, or after a certain period of time, can we just take ownership? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Rourke. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 5.8, Councilor McDonough, request the city manager have the appropriate department provide a report of any and all fines assessed at 169 Bridge Street in relations to the closure of the RiverWalk due to the collapse of the brick facade at the address. Seconded by Councilor Nuon. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion almost speaks for itself, but I had mentioned this on the floor a few meetings ago. Just kind of, I think it was in relation to the CPA funding of another project at that site, and then the Sun went and ran a story about that, and that resulted in even more people in downtown reaching out about it. Also, I'm annoyed by it. I think in looking at as building owners are applying for funds, is projects either happening or not happening. We have a lot of carrots. We also have a few sticks. It doesn't appear that the building that is the problem building, the one that actually dropped the bricks, is yet on this developer's radar. And so I think making sure that, as a city, we're doing, if there's anything we can do, that we are doing what we can do to try and encourage a rectification there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 5.9, Councilor McDonough, Councilor Mercier, request the city manager work with the appropriate department to create a schedule for parking enforcement in school zones. No seconded needed. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you. I tried to give it to Councilor Mercier, but she's pointing at me. So this came out of a number of spots. The final push, I think, was that meeting at the Daily about the sidewalks that I wound up at. I agree with some of the comments that were made at that meeting about there not really being any motion necessary to, I think, that specific property or that specific project. But I think in general, looking at parking enforcement, the city's hired a number of parking enforcement personnel over the last couple of years, and in looking at ways to get them out of downtown. I know problem areas off the top of my head would be the Daily School, the Green Helge. In downtown is the charter school on Jackson Street. It's not that anyone enjoys getting a ticket, but we do get a lot of tickets downtown, and I think that it's a tool in the toolbox, and it sounds like it's kind of anarchy in some of these school districts. You get cars triple parked, so I think our enforcement people would love it. Thank you.
Councilor Mercier.
I'm going to add a little bit to this because you kind of said it, but I want to say something too. And maybe again, you might not want to hear it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I went to that meeting with a number of my colleagues, and I was very shocked to see what was taking place. I'm going to tell you. We wanted to talk about sidewalks and where they're going to go, and Dave Biotti was doing a tremendous job, and some of the parents were outraged. They didn't want any sidewalks, and I was shocked by that, but I can understand their frustration because, and then you, Mr. Mayor, said, we're doing it because we're responsible for safety. It's a state law that we should provide safety for our children to get to school. It's all about them being safe. But the parents had a good point. Why put the sidewalks in when parents are going to walk their kids down the middle of the street, cars are going to park in front of driveways, throw out their litter in someone's property from their vehicle? I was shocked to hear all these things. So you know what the solution was? We're going to put a sidewalk. We need a sidewalk for safety, but we need enforcement. Maybe it's time that we tell the younger generation parents that you can't just walk on the street. There's a sidewalk, and that's the proper thing. And if you don't follow the law, you're going to be fined. If you do park in front of that lady's driveway when her husband is trying to leave for work and you're throwing out your trash, that's against the law. We need police enforcement in certain areas of different schools. I don't know, we wouldn't think of that years ago, but now people don't care. They just want to walk down the middle of the street. That's what a sidewalk is for. So when we have it, I want them to use it. The neighbors want them to use it. I don't want them to be discouraged that we spent all this money from the city and put a sidewalk there and nobody's walking on the sidewalk, they're walking in the street. That's the point of what they were saying, and that's what I need. And I looked around to see if the police superintendent was here, because I almost went in the budget hearing and said this. Any questions? I almost addressed it there, but we need a talk with the chief to say, please, within certain hours of school starting and ending, people should be taught to walk on that sidewalk. That's what it's there for. I know you're with your child, but don't risk their life, because one day they're going to think, well, mommy takes me to school on the street. I'm going to walk on the street. I don't want anybody to get hurt, and that's why I'm saying it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercier. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a very good motion. I would just ask, the Parking Enforcement Department, are they now enforcing outside of downtown? I know that was a big discussion we had, whether or not they were allowed to.
Manager Golden?
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Yes, they can. Currently, right now, I'll give you an example. University Ave, the lots that are over in that area. There also have been over in the Highlands, over off of Westford Street. So that is happening. we've been working, as some of the councilors know, with some of the neighborhood communities, talking about this, about stickers and what neighborhoods really want, and that has, to be quite frank, fallen flat right now. So if that is revitalized, we would gladly do that. We have also talked about getting the folks, not because Councilor McDonough is saying this out of the downtown, but really in all truthfulness, on the corners. We've had problems in some areas with corner parking, and that is really a safety hazard. So that's something that, as spring comes forward, we'll be talking to Mr. Ryan about getting our folks out into neighborhoods. Per usual, my suggestion would start with warning people, let them know that you cannot park in these locations, even though everybody should know, but then make it a more regular occurrence out in the neighborhoods, especially when areas are being blocked. This comes about every year with snow removal. Once again, LPD does a great job. They blow the air horn, try to get people to move, and when people don't move, that's when the ticketing and towing starts. So
And
that
parking.
is something we can do in the neighborhood. So
Parking at corners and Sacred Heart is exactly what I was talking about. I was curious whether or not they were going out into the neighborhoods. But this is a very good motion. I don't know, I know my children attended, Lowell Public Schools, and the principal would come out with a megaphone. She's now an assistant superintendent, and after just a little while, she kind of broke the habits that were happening that were not good habits. So I don't know whose role that is, if that's the police to do that, or that's, I guess, a discussion to have, but it's just really setting things straight just for a little while kind of really starts the habits better. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Scott. Councilor Dakota.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Along the same lines as Councilor Mercier, I transport my granddaughter and my grandson for the last 8 years. And about 4 months ago, on the morning I was transporting, I noticed that the driver's side, the rear door, child had opened up the door and was just about ready to get out when a car came and just about nudged the door without hitting the child. So if this is to save a student from being injured, these sidewalks are well worth it. The parents will have to change their mindset and do some walking. But I understand the frustration of the neighbors over there. I absolutely do. We are going to need a sit-down with Captain Houdon and with Superintendent Houdon and Captain Damaris and work out some type of thing. City manager, obviously, they would try to put the car that's in that sector probably there in the morning for 10 minutes and in the afternoon for 10 minutes. But we have to change the mindset of the parents because, as Councilor Mercier said, to get into the point of throwing trash on people's lawns, it's just ridiculous. But most of the parents are in a rush and they'll just jump out of their car anywhere, block driveways, and we have to stop that. So hopefully we plan on having a meeting probably at the beginning of August before school starts up again and sit down with the neighbors and discuss. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dakota. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If it's okay with you, I'd like to suspend the rules to allow someone to speak briefly on this.
On this, motion by Councilor Robinson to suspend the rules to allow someone to speak, seconded by Councilor Scott. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
Cindy, do you mind speaking? You guys are looking for traffic enforcement, but Centerville has our own enforcement, and it's Miss McNamara over at the Greenouch.
And he's got a good point. If I'm not outside on the corner, or I shouldn't say corner, I'm sorry.
Name and address for the record,
Sandy
please.
McNamara, Beaulieu Street, Lowell, Mass.
Thank you.
I have the same issue. I have a driveway. I have parents every day that decide to use my trash barrels if I'm there. If I'm not, it's left on the sidewalk. But my biggest concern is the Greenouch School, and we worked very, very hard to create a parent drop-off pickup. It's working phenomenal. But you have those few parents that decide they're going to be cheaters and will try to, instead of going through the process of coming up and now on to Victor for the drop-off pickup, they'll come up Beaulieu and stop at the kids out in the middle of the street, or the minute the cross guard stops traffic for crossing kids, they'll cut into the line in front of the crossing walk, which is really serious. But again, and we have signs, no parking during school hours, blah, blah, blah. But we really, really need the enforcement. And I did ask for help last week because there was a problem with a neighbor trying to get in. With the cheaters, they wouldn't let her get in her driveway. And it kind of like created an argument that I put a stop to.
And get something together and get it working. And also while we're at it, I just want to thank the assistant manager and also city managers about the corner parking during the snow hour. And it still worked till this day. So I think if we can do some kind of enforcement on that, that would be really helpful. I got some complaint on it, especially those parking toward the edge. But again, during the snow and until now, what you did before still work, and I think that's a good thing to do.
Thank you, Councilor Liang. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Vice Mayor Nuon, could you come up and take the seat? 5.10, Mayor Gitschier requests the city manager have the Department of Public Works Trash Enforcement Department over the next few months during the spring start at 5 a.m. and enforce the waste policies citywide. Seconded by Councilor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for reading for me. So you recognize Mr. Mayor.
We are a team.
Thank you.
One goes down, one comes out. I don't know how it works, but it's working.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Nuon. Through you to Manager Golden. Manager Golden, the staff starts it after 7 a.m. and goes home around 3:30, 4 o'clock. Some of the problems is we're experiencing with not only the Housing Authority, but other places, is they put out their trash at 5, 6 o'clock at night. It's all over the place. And then by the time enforcement gets out, the beginning of the routes don't really get enforced because their trash is either gone or the truck drove by without picking up the trash. And I don't think it's fair to the others who are being enforced. So this motion is more about it's springtime, let's try to clean up around the neighborhoods. There was a major push to get rodenticides out of the city buildings. In other areas, they're not doing it as quick as the city has. And some of the problem is if we put out our trash at night and it's all over the place, nocturnal rodents come out and grab it. And they'll eat into these rodenticides and they bring them back, and then it gets into the ecosystem, and birds get killed and foxes and other things get. There's no reason why we can't have anyone who has enforcement power to get out earlier in the morning before the trucks get there. Through you, Mr. Vice Mayor, to Manager Golden. Manager Golden, could you tell me what time the garbage trucks actually get into neighborhoods and start picking up?
Mr. Manager, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, it should be 7 o'clock. Now, that does not mean I myself have not heard them come in at 6:30, but the actual time is 7 a.m.
So at the start time they come in, and at the start time we start enforcing is about an hour and a half later. So a lot of people get away with continually doing the same thing, and there's litter all over the city, and we're in the spring. We just got named, the best city in Massachusetts, so why not try to do more enforcement? And the enforcement is a teaching method for every community to do. And this isn't about one person, it's about, we're trying to make a better community and enforce the policies that all of us put in place. So the 5 a.m. thing, if it costs a couple hours overtime, I'm sure we'll make that up in the fines and stuff if we have employees to be able to do this. I just think we need to shift the hours for the springtime so that we get there before the trucks get there, so we can say, or we can go later at night. But the problem is later at night, if people put it out at 9, 10 o'clock at night, you're not going to enforce anything. So that's really what the gist of this motion was to try to increase enforcement fairly across the city.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, Mr. Mayor, excuse me, if you could give me a little flexibility, I will work with. I know DDS, it could be a discussion within the unions, and I know that on SWR, we could have a discussion with one of the employees over there to see if we could start it a little bit earlier. So I'm just asking for a little bit of flexibility on which department I utilize to try to get that accomplished
And a lot of it is worries about rodents in the neighborhoods and stuff like that. If you're throwing trash all over the place and then it's gone by the time they get there, they don't get to see the enforcement piece. So I just think we need to do better on the enforcement to keep down the rodent population and try to push them into other areas, that's all. Thank you.
Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I do agree on the rodent piece, but I also would say I did hear from residents concerned about approving the ordinance tonight. I approved it reluctantly because I do think there is a lot of work that needs to happen around enforcement, which is what I heard from residents. They're weary of having to pay higher fees when other people are not, doing their piece. I do think this would help. I don't know whether or not we could talk about, new hires having different shifts. I know that's a contractual type of obligation instead of paying overtime, changing the hours of the shifts. Just, again, I do think it's important that we really hit the enforcement piece on trash. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Scott. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you for talking about the potentially getting enforcement out earlier in the morning. It might not be for trash in the downtown part of my district, but I think we can cover the cost of the shift. I'd be more than happy to pass on the schedule of the 4:30, 5 a.m. dumpers. And maybe if they're coming in early, they can just start over that alley, whack them with a $300 fine, and then go about their day. So thank you. Well, sorry, wait, before I say thank you, I don't even set an alarm anymore on Thursdays. So I have an alarm every day of the week, but on Thursdays I don't need one because at 4:55 I will wake up. And I'm not it's everywhere. It's okay, but thank you.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 5.11, Mayor Gitschier requests the city manager update the city council on the status of the summer recreation program. This program is time sensitive. Seconded by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am assuming that this is related to matters that a handful of residents have reached out to me about. They're upset with the late notice of changes to the summer youth programs. And I understand the parents' frustration, especially when they've already counted on those programs. But I've made clear to them that this is going to be a very tight budget year and that cuts are going to be needed somewhere to balance the budget. So restoring any particular program or position will almost certainly mean that something else will have to be eliminated or taxes and fees further increased. One parent did suggest charging a modest fee with a sliding scale, and that parent also offered to get involved in brainstorming longer-term solutions, which I think is great. But I think it's important for folks to understand the cost of these programs, the utilization of them, because we ultimately, the city manager, the city council are responsible to balance the city's budget. And, this is likely only the first of many requests that are going to come before us to restore something that people cherish, but that, maybe may have to be cut. And so we on the city council have to have the discipline to recognize our responsibility to lead the city responsibly and with fiscal restraint, something that you, Mayor Gitschier, have traditionally really advocated for. So I don't know if there is any insight about these programs that can be shared at this point, or we'll just wait to hear, but I do think we have to all recognize that these are tight times. Thank you.
Manager Golden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council is what we've heard or have read exactly what you folks have sent, what people are sending to you, and it appears to me, and Mr. Faticani is here, it appears to me that the 3- and 4-year-old is the sticking point. And I'm doing this from a little bit of memory here that we had about 40 folks sign up for it and 45 folks and about 17 or 18 show up to it. I've talked to the CFO. The dollar figure is about 35 to 40,000. I typically would wait on this, but I know people are waiting to figure this out. We will move forward with the 3- and 4-year-old program, but in the future, I appreciate the constituent that you spoke with. The sliding scale will be something that we're going to need to look at for next year. All of the parks that we will all have a similar time frame as well. This is not something that any of us are happy about, but as the council knows, This will be probably one of the most difficult years, I will say, since I've been here, but not actually since the CFO has been here. He has seen things that are worse. I don't want to turn this into a budget debate. People are wondering right now in that 3 to 4 year old program, 3 to 4 to 5 year old program, Mr. Fadakani, is that correct? 3 and 4, sorry about that. So that will be, it's limited. It's always been limited, just so you know, but we will make sure that that is done. But, with the headwinds we have coming in right now with the income tax looking to be on the ballot this November, cutting it from 5 to 4%, that is going to be a challenge for us, as well as everybody here knows, the other monies that just aren't materializing, that have materialized from the federal government, that are not coming from the feds to the state into the city. So this will be a very difficult budget year, but I do tend to agree with what was said. People are a little taken off guard because they've already made their arrangements, so we will do that, but next year we will be talking about a sliding scale.
Councilor Duran?
Yeah, I thank you, City Manager. I think it sounds like there were some of the parents, I think, had issues even at like the 12-year level. I think it went from 12 to 10. So I think everybody has their own challenges depending on the age of their children. But I do think we all have to recognize the belt-tightening year that we're in, and that discipline is something we all are going to have to maintain.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. Councilor Nuon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand that this upcoming budget is going to be very difficult, a tight one. I understand that we're going to maybe lay off people, which no one would like to see that happen. I understand that it's going to be tax increase higher than ever the last, 4 or 5 years. I thank Councilor Duran for bringing it up to people who wrote it to us. At the same time, I also understand the frustrations. A lot of this parent has already made arrangement. That arrangement that's going to affect them and their family. I appreciate you said that you'll do what you can to assist them as best as you can. That's all we can do, and I think they accept that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nuon. Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. Everyone here is well aware the importance and significance of these summer programs, and again, we're in a tough situation. I think some of the ideas that have came out in the past, I think we really need to reevaluate and look at again. Bidding out concession stands, ensuring that we're collecting permit fees. Maybe look at charging a minimal fee for splash pads, even if it's something like $1. Or what some communities do is like a resident permit for the season. It's a $5 fee, or that's waivable with hardship. Would it make sense to start looking potentially for some kind of enterprise fund for the rec department, where it would allow us to know from year to year the hiring capacity we have based on the revenues generated from these kind of activities? And I think the bidding the concession stand piece might be something that would go a long way towards those efforts. Do we have the ability, legal ability, to fundraise? If it was earmarked just for staffing of summer jobs for the youth, so we could provide these services, I think we're gonna have to start looking at other ways to bring in revenue, specifically earmarked for these kind of programs in the summer. Because, I mean, as long as I can remember, that rec department and summer youth programming has been a staple in the community for a lot of people. So I appreciate that you're gonna make every effort to try to make this happen this year, but I think for next year and future years, we're going to have to really get creative. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. Councilor Scott?
Thank you. Just a quick question for you through to the manager. Is this a needs-based program? Is it a paid program that they're paying on a sliding scale, or how does it exactly work with the POX program? Thank you.
Manager Golden?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Currently, right now, Councilor, no, it is just free. It's a free program that we give to everybody. But I think that making this discussion point today is, I think we will be moving towards a sliding scale in the future. There would be just no way, myself and Mr. Fadakani, I mean, we started talking about this, I think, in December. maybe even a little bit earlier. The budget for us, meaning the administration, has started very, very early because we have full recollection, or full recognition is probably the right way to say it, that this year would be an extremely difficult year. And unfortunately, it is proving to be even more challenging than we anticipated. Once again, I don't want to make this a whole budget debate, but we're back to our department heads right now for the second round of an actual 10% cut across the board. And that's where this is getting, and I'm not trying to scare anybody working here. I'm not trying to upset anybody, but that 10% is a real number, and it may go a little bit higher because of what we're seeing not happening, once again, through the Fed, the state, and our fixed costs. Gladly we'll talk about this at greater length in days to come, or weeks, well, in the next couple of weeks. But the future of recreational activities, in the past has always been recreational activities in the city of Lowell has been free. The future, I'm unsure. It could be some type of sliding scale.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Scott. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't going to comment, but can we look at potentially using so I know the past council really pushed for working with the Board of Parks to implement a higher tournament fee and less fee waiving on some of the tournament uses for the field. Yeah.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much. I don't want to speak for Mr. Faticani, but he does a really good job at making sure that, I'm going to say, the people of Lowell, the children of Lowell, do not pay. And with the amount of activity that we have going on throughout the city, there are some opportunities for an outside organization to come in, and we do charge them. But the amount of charging that we do for outside groups, and I want to make sure I'm saying that, it's I don't think it's heavy, to be honest with you, a couple $100 in certain instances, but there's just not enough enough of those activities coming in, that would pay it. Sometimes what you do see, I know the field when I walk by on Sunday mornings. I quite frankly, I've never asked Mr. Faticani this one. I don't know if it's a bunch of guys just playing a pickup game, right, or they actually, have rented it for $200 to $300, because we don't stop pickup games and things of that nature. But there just isn't a lot of people coming from the outside to rent, although we have some. So trying to balance that dollar figure against what I would say is a mammoth expense, it may be one of those situations where collecting the X dollars is more of a challenge than it is ensuring that the safety or the grounds are in good shape. Lowell baseball is very, very active, extremely active. Lowell lacrosse, extremely active. We have so many folks. And I think the Parks Department, the Parks, not department, I apologize, the Recreation, the Board of Parks, they do a very good job at trying to see who should pay and who can't pay. And they do waive it, but it's typically for our, right, what I want to say is our homegrown programs.
I guess I was just going to say, I was going to kind of suggest, I don't think it can cover the whole program. I don't, but I think when we're looking at some of the like AAA team tournament use, I know McPherson. I don't know how many times my parents run a softball organization that probably plays in three of the tournaments that are at McPherson, and I know there are a couple other ones too. But those kinds of opportunities just to try and supplement some of the rec department's funds. When you're talking about kids who are, they're coming from, and I like sports, but when you're talking about kids who are coming from families who are able to pay to put them on AAA travel teams, making sure that we're fairly charging the kind of big money tournament piece, and I think that was the focus. That's more what I was talking about in the past council. The other thing, it just as a quick comment, it's just I understand the belt tightening, but I have a really hard time looking at not a particularly well-funded organization and not a particularly well-funded portion of the city, and I think a portion of the city that I would say has a tremendously high impact on our young people as being kind of the first place to cut. And so I thank you for getting that 3 and 4 year old program back.
Manager Golden?
My CFO just here, our CFO just said to me that last year we picked up $65,000 in park permit fees to the tune of but we're spending about $900,000 in the rec program. And that's last year's numbers, not the cut that we're going to be experiencing this year. So it's just the difference between 65K, most of our parks, most of our open space is being utilized by our residents. And that's what I think we kind of want. So that's a cost that I would think is somewhat insurmountable. But, once again, sliding scales for next year's, strike that, not FY27 budget, which is going to happen in just a few months. We're talking about the following year. It would take that long. And I have to thank Mr. Fattacani for bringing up that idea actually in our first meeting 4 months ago, 4 months ago. So we will consider that in the future.
Thank you, Manager Golden. I just want to say one thing from up here. This motion was just a status update. It was not a directive to the city manager. The manager makes those decisions, and all I did was ask for a status update. So I agree with Councilor Duran. There's tough times ahead. I agree the total way. It was just basically asking if there was a possibility. He could have certainly wrote no back. Manager Golden.
Thank you very much, Mr. May. Through the council. Councilors, I did not take it in that direction. I want to be very clear that we've been working on this. This is just an update from our end. That was not a directive, and I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor, but that was not what it was, and I understand that fully. So I want to make sure that the folks at home know that this is what we are working on, and Mr. Fattacani will be moving in that direction.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 6.1 motion response. Motion response B, Board of Parks. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report, and I'll wait for the updated report. Yeah, you want to take this back since they said they couldn't really bring this forward until the next meeting?
Manager Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. We can give you an update, Councilor, on that when that happens.
All right,
Either way,
perfect.
doesn't matter.
Thank you.
Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Nuon, seconded by Councilor Mercier. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Motion response C, four-way stop sign intersection of Fletcher and Bowers. Councilor Liang.
Thank you. This is really nice to see, and I also drove by West 6 and Bunker Hill as well. Hopefully that when the time's right, I think it's a good place to have the signage on Fletcher Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Liang. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Duran, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. And motion response D, Watson in Lawrence Street. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you. This is good news. I'm glad it was an anomaly at the neighborhood meeting. Thank you and the traffic engineer for doing the study and getting it back.
Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Nuon, seconded by Councilor Rourke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Motion response E, Westford Street and Steadman Street. Councilor Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Though I do appreciate the memo from the traffic engineer, the backups are still quite prevalent on Steadman Street. It doesn't seem to be getting any better, Mr. Manager. I don't know where we go from here on this, but I'm still getting numerous calls concerning the backups, most likely between the 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you.
Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Duran, seconded by Councilor Liang. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Motion response F, reconsideration of Greater Lowell Voke Lottery. Councilor McDonough, Councilor Dakota, Councilor McDonough.
I tried. Thank you. This is very fast. The letter is good. I particularly like the piece on the second page where you reiterate that the city is committed and fully supports the Commonwealth's interest in equitable access, and just that we believe that those goals could be met without the mandated lottery, kind of with the broad brush. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough. Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a sort of whole backdrop to present, but I guess I will just leave it as I appreciate that this draft letter asks not that the policy revert to the old one, but that a policy be established that balances fairness and student success. Because I think neither the old policy nor the new policy is perfect. And I think in particular, as Councilor Robinson made the important point last week, he reminded us that some students don't perform well in a traditional academic setting and will really do great things and learn well in a hands-on environment. And it's those students who were not helped with the old system, where 40% of the admissions criteria was based on grades. So, and those are the students who, were in that camp, who happen to get in now because of the lottery system, are not the ones who reached out to us. So we are, I think, everybody needs to take a step back and, as this letter suggests, find a reasonable common ground that will accommodate those students as well as others. Thank you.
Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Scott, seconded by Councilor Chow. Motion response G, ICE operations. We have a couple of registered speakers.
Marcos Candido.
Hello. Good evening, councilors. I'm here tonight as a Lowellian, as a son of immigrants, and as a concerned neighbor to speak on the motion response regarding ICE operations in our city. Oh, yeah, sorry. Marcos Candido. I live on Westford Street, 761. First, I'd like to say that the letter fails to seriously engage and answer the question that was brought forth, which is, what is ICE doing in our neighborhoods? Despite an almost 3-month wait, we were simply told that this data is not collected. And in a sorry attempt to shrug off this responsibility, they link 2 websites, which I implore everyone to check. They don't really give any notice of what is happening in Lowell, as everything that does happen in this city is marked in the general Boston area of responsibility. The police superintendent and the department given responsibility in answering this question had 3 months to do anything such as community outreach to learn about the real impact ICE is having in our neighborhoods. It is a shame that this task was not taken up in earnest, as we have seen families such as those connected to John Palacio Morales who have been affected. He was abducted by ICE last September wrongfully. There are news articles talking about this. And this is something a piece in the Sun even highlighted could be deeply impacting our democratic processes, such as our elections. Secondly, with respect to communicating the rights we have when interacting with ICE agents, the community is recommended to download them, and hoping other organizations will take up the task of informing people. But these organizations are not as deeply rooted here, do not have the same resources, and are not as implicitly trusted throughout the city as the police or maybe any other capable department is. So I gotta say, it's a shame that given that someone higher up decided to respond to this op-ed in the Sun by some of my colleagues, an opportunity to build more trust within our communities was squandered to let us know that the internet exists. And lastly, towards the end of this memo, we are relayed what I think is an important aspect to this response, that officers may, and I quote, officers may act only in narrow, clearly defined circumstances where they personally observe a clear and articulable violation of Massachusetts criminal law within their lawful jurisdiction. Which brings me to my final point, and that is that this council must show it is willing to act in the face of these clear violations of law by ICE. We need an ordinance banning all forms of cooperation with ICE regarding civil immigration matters. We need to join the many cities which have moved to prohibit ICE from using city-owned property and schools for any use related to civil immigration matters. And we need to join cities like Worcester, who have moved towards using city resources to support verifying masked agents and investigating and documenting their criminal actions. People are being sent to camps where there is no room to stand or sleep, where critical medications are deprived, where they are assaulted, sexually abused, where they are starved, in some cases, where they die. This council can and must do everything in its power to increase protections for everyone in Lowell. The urgency must be there, and it is my hope that in the coming months, our communities are shown that they are truly cared for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Candido.
Carolyn Snow. That's it.
Council McDonough.
Thank you. Thank you. That's honestly, I think this response, I understand that it has its shortcomings and that there are things that I guess could be better, but on the whole, and we talked about this, Mr. Manager, I think this was a very good response. I think you answered the question that I asked to the best of the ability. I know that some of what I was asked, and I said this on the floor, was information that I really didn't expect that LPD had. I do appreciate the attempt to answer some of the questions that were expressed in the op-ed as well. I do want to point out, I understand that the current ICE policy does not strictly prohibit, but I think it is important to point out that in the period that was requested, the PD reports that they have not cooperated with ICE at all, right? That there's no record of any request for cooperation, that they haven't cooperated up until this point. And I think that was really at the heart of what the motion was looking for. And there's only so much that we can do at the local level, and there are things that we can say we want to do that the feds don't really have to listen to. I would also just, not in this motion response, it could have been, but it's not. The Lowell Public Schools does have a very strong ICE policy currently in place about not permitting entrance into the building. From my understanding is that part of what assists the school district in being able to have what I would say is a much stronger policy than the city buildings do is that school buildings lock. You can actually lock the school door without getting sued for violating open access to a park or a building, or someone walking in and making you leave. And so do I think that there's improvements to be made? Absolutely. I understand that there's still fear and there's still concern. It's really hard when you're talking about local government and a federal issue, but again, thank you.
Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, too, valued the report. I think that, clearly folks are frustrated by what's going on in the federal level. And we are a constitutional democracy with a federalist system where the state and the federal governments have different rights and obligations. And immigration is a federal issue. I think in the report, the superintendent referenced a advisory from the Mass Police Chiefs Association, I think I have it wrong, but which said, while departments may choose to cooperate with ICE to a certain extent, they generally cannot be required to enforce federal immigration policy. And so I think it is important that we in Lowell know for sure that our police will not enforce federal immigration policy. We've gotten requests, I've gotten probably 100 emails over the last several days from residents. They are clearly forms, they're not all from residents, but who have made requests that I think seem more reasonable than some of the requests that have been made in the past, which I think were impossible to meet. I think, asking or having the police not voluntarily honor ICE's request for cooperation unless compelled by a judicial warrant seems to make sense to me. Banning, or at least, banning ICE from staging operations on city property in schools makes sense to me, to the extent that that would be trespassing anyway. And having various, consistent and transparent reporting processes. Now, implementing these things, if they are appropriate, I think would require our police superintendent and our city solicitor to work together to find the right balance between allowing Lowell Police Department to do what it needs to do, which is to serve our residents properly, while not getting itself in trouble with the federal government. I would ask that perhaps whether this should be done sort of off to the side or offline, maybe is the right way to put it, or whether this needs to at some point go to the Public Safety Subcommittee. But I think there are resources from the ACLU of Massachusetts who have proven willing to help, willing to talk with residents and municipal leaders to find the appropriate balance. Again, we do not want to violate the Constitution ourselves, and we want to make sure that, we are all as protected as we can be, and that includes our police and our city. But we, I think, can find ways to clarify the policies that have been put in place already. Frankly, I find the current police policy, which I know was written back in 2015 and reconfirmed by the current superintendent, but I find it hard to, I think it is vague. And so I think we could do a better job, but without feeling like we have to solve the world's problems. Thank you.
And thank you, Councilor Duran. Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not to be repetitive, but I'd just like to reinforce what my colleagues have already said, because I think it's important. The Lowell Police Department has no records responsive to this request related to any ICE operations, arrests, or detentions in the city of Lowell. The Lowell Police Department recognizes the values, the diversity of the community it serves. The enforcement of our nation's immigration laws is a primary responsibility of the federal government and not subject to oversight by the Lowell Police Department. The Lowell Police Department does not collect data or receive information related to federal ICE operations or activity in the city of Lowell. And lastly, local police in Massachusetts do not enforce federal civil immigration law and lack authority to arrest or detain individuals based solely on ICE civil detainers and administrative warrants. That should sum it all up. It is not the duty of the Lowell Police Department when someone is stopped for violating a speeding or traffic infraction. They do not say, oh, could I see a green card, or are you an illegal immigrant? They don't ask that. They have no business to do that, and they don't do that. So I just wanted to reiterate what I think is very important in this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercier. Councilor Nuon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do share Speaker frustration with the careless and lawless detention of people. We know that the last couple of months, with the incident in Minnesota, there's no investigation on the murders of Renee Good and Alec Pretty, right? So we know that ICE is not here for the safety of our community. We know that they terrorize our community. With this city, I know that the chief and the managers has policy. I've been asking that policies, and the chief went on show too, talk about that policy. Policies with regard to assist ICE. Assist ICE only if there's criminal warrant for arrest on criminal matters, not on civil immigration matter. The police do not ask people as they stop people on traffic violation whether or not they're citizen of this country. They simply ask for registration, license and registration. I find it difficult to, the police department, as busy as they are in trying to protect us, our safety, our communities, to have them go out there. I know that Councillor McDonough motion is asking that whether or not the ICE informed the police department. I asked that question too when they come to Lowell and we are their house. They don't need to tell us. And they do not. They should be a good partner, but they don't give a, blank. Right? So they can come they come when they want it, they do what they want it, forget about the due process thing. Right? What we can ask is that, as Councilor Duran said, that if we can, city properties that we do not, we kind of do not allow them to use it as a staging for their operation or their activity. Maybe we can do that. I know that our nonprofit have been out there campaigning, educating the community about know your right. Sometimes I feel that while you educate them about knowing your right, but ICE doesn't give up about that. The due process out the door. They pick you up and shove you in the car and then take you to the detention center. It happened. It happened in Lowell, more so in other cities and towns. So looking at the policies that we have now, maybe we tweak it a little bit if we can, making sure that our residents understand that we do not assist ICE in civil immigration. That if we can add it that the city do not allow ICE in the city properties, using city property as a staging for their activity. Mr. Mayor, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, is the school department have policy? I believe they do. So ICE cannot go into the building of any building of the school.
Manager Golden.
I don't know of any incidents, any record of the Lowell Police Department assist ICE on immigration matter. I heard that. I heard people talk about that, but I do not know. I mean, maybe the chief, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Managers and or the chief on that question alone. Have the Lowell Department assist ICE on immigration policy?
Manager Golden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through the council. In the third paragraph, it does state that the Lowell Police Department does cooperate, indeed, with the FBI, DEA, and ATF. And occasionally, councilors will hear about stuff that happens a little bit afterwards, because sometimes it's a situation that is going on. However, ICE does not request, has not requested, and we are as surprised when they do appear in Lowell as well. Quite frankly, I do recall calling the superintendent on one particular incident that happened, and it was one of the councilors who called me first because somebody was traveling to work. So particular councilor called me, I called the superintendent found out about that as well. So ICE does not contact us to let us know that they're coming into the city. And furthermore, they don't really set up any particular place. They just kind of, they're moving consistently. But I do want to be clear that when it comes to drug enforcement agent or ATF or FBI, which are other federal organizations, our police department works hand in glove, because what is typically happening, it is something that the courts already know about, and we're going after, say, somebody. I'm going to say it's typically drug related, not always, but normally it is, and typically the councils will get that 6:15 phone call, sometimes 5:30, because the last thing the superintendent and of course myself wants to have happen is one of the councilors heading someplace and seeing something break up. We've been extremely fortunate with all the organizations. We have 118,000 people in the city. We have a lot of people that try to do things that are not welcomed. So to be clear to the citizens of Lowell, we do cooperate with the federal government when it comes to the FBI, the DEA, and the ATF. Absolutely, positively, we cooperate. ICE has never asked, nor do they ask, and we do not know when they show up. They don't necessarily set up anywhere. They are usually moving around. I don't even know if the last time they've been here. I haven't heard about it as of late. I'm not saying that they haven't. I'm not saying they won't be here tomorrow. However, I just want to be crystal clear on that particular piece when it comes to when it comes to the federal agency that everybody refers to as ICE.
Mr. Manager, you said LPD cooperated with federal agent. Is that on criminal matter or is it on civil matter?
Manager Golan?
That would be on criminal matters that are, once again, criminal matters for the edification of the folks at home would be drug or any type of interstate national syndicates, which we've been very proud, and I'll say very proud, our Lowell Police Department has been extremely proud to take down national syndicates, drug running, and other activities that will find its way through here to go someplace else. And I'm very proud of the Detective Bureau and quite frankly, the entire LPD for that matter.
Which we should. I need to continue to do that. Is there an agreement in place with ICE to allow them to use city-owned property?
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, through to the council, there is no agreement, no such agreement. There's no discussion with ICE whatsoever. The other agencies, I would say they all work hand in glove. And once again, just to reiterate, ICE does not call, does not reach out to us. Quite frankly, I know the superintendent spoke to them. They're very kind, and they said they don't. You can go to the website to figure this out. They're not forthcoming with any of their information.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nuon. Councilor Chow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My previous colleague did an eloquent job summarizing the report, but I do want to express my strong support for the Lowell Police Department and Superintendent Hudon's response. This department has spent decades building trust with every community in the city, including our immigrant communities. That trust is fragile, it is hard-earned, it is the foundation of effective community policing. We should not take that for granted. And having heard multiple times that ICE has not reached out to our police department, to our law enforcement agencies, but I see that the chief is here. I do want to ask him a very important question, if that's okay, through the mayor, through the manager, to the chief.
Good evening, Chief Hudon.
Good evening.
Chief, thank you for being here. And I have two questions, very connected. ICE does not reach out to us, but I think all of us want to know what proactive communication has LPD have done with ICE. Have you reached out to ICE? Because we don't, we see that they appear in Lowell, quote unquote, randomly at different times, and we certainly don't want to be blindsided by that. So what kind of communications to prevent something that would catch Lowell PD by surprise? What communications have you had with them?
Thank you, Council. Mr. Mayor, through the Council. So this is a conversation that a lot of chiefs across the area have had at a higher level, right? One of the things that we've all asked with our law enforcement partners at ICE is that if they could notify us if they are coming in. And again, that's a double-edged sword sometimes, like a lot of our other federal law enforcement partners. They don't tell us when they're doing surveillance sometimes because there's operational security that goes along with a lot of our long-term investigations. ICE is no different in that regard, and so they're obviously, for obvious reasons, they may be apprehensive with sharing it. Our concerns as chiefs in some of our municipalities has been to say we don't want to come into a situation where there may be a blue-on-blue incident, like we didn't know you were here and we're getting a report of a robbery or something that's happening, and then our officers show up with no knowledge of that and then try to take action and where anybody could get hurt. So
We've done that through Mass Chiefs. We've done that through some of our other chief organizations to reach out to them. I've personally reached out, as the manager indicated. I called. And again, you're talking about a federal agency, so I'm talking to a local official who probably has to run that up their chain of command down to Washington. So it's obviously a concern. We've asked. It's obviously a fluid situation.
Thank you, Chief. And that's very important to know. I guess sort of a follow-up question to that. I think the manager might have hinted toward that direction about the DEA, FBI, the ATF. Does ICE treat the city, the local police department differently than those other federal agencies when they come into the city?
So we have a different relationship, I would say, with those other agencies than we do with ICE. We don't really have a relationship with ICE. Their mandate is civil in nature. Ours is criminal in nature. When we're working with our other federal partners, it's criminal matters that we're dealing with, not civil matters. Do some of the civil matters become criminal? Perhaps. And that's usually where a warrant will issue for something. And please don't ask me to go into the civil immigration stuff that could become criminal, because I'm not versed in civil immigration law. What I can tell you is that with our federal partners, we usually have warrants when we deal with any of our situations. So they are different from our other federal partners in that regard.
Sure. Thanks so much, Chief. And that's a distinction that we need to understand, and I appreciate you being here to explain that.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chow. Councilor Liang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I read the report, and I think in my point of view is that Lowell is our home, and this is a residence that's looking for some sort of support or hope from us, from the police department that's, I guess, supposed to protect them. And I guess at this point they don't know what to do, and this is hard. We try hard about community policing, outreach, and promoting safety and trust. So there's a lot of question here that I guess I and some of the other community member, it's not about policy, but would say, do we still have that trust with the police department? And just regarding to ICE, would you come when masked men with guns, tinted van, taking their family member away? Would you check ICE ID warrant to see if they're real and signed by a judge? Would you help calm the community, detail their loved ones where they're being taken away? So my point is that when ICE is gone, will neighbors still have trust within each other in the community and us as leaders? So this is, I guess that's what I'm grappling at, is that this is real to them and they can't sleep, they don't know what to do, and they're looking for answers. What do they do when somebody come and knock on the door and masked men, and would police go if they call 911 or not? What do they do? What should they do when they come and there's nobody there? And of course, you know that there's people, there's van, there's people with masks and with guns and stuff like that. So what is the connection? And maybe there should be a way that can help ease our residents. I'm not talking about the criminals. That's just different. But these are kids, they're children, they're trying to go to school, but they can't go. These are, just regular folk who try and, make a daily living.
Thank you, Councilor Liang. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I thank my colleagues for speaking. I hear the community's concerns loud and clear. I think this is the first time I've been on the council that an issue's come up that, quite frankly, I don't think any of my colleagues or myself or the administration or the police department have an answer to. It's unfortunate. We've been asking these questions for quite some time. I have to say thank you to LPD. They, time and time again, they come, they explain, they take their time to educate and convey their role in our community, as well as their role in conjunction with federal organizations. We have to remember who we're talking about here. We're talking about a federal agency put together pretty much from the president himself. They have carte blanche authority, it seems like. And it doesn't seem like they're asking permission to do what they do. It puts communities like ours at a significant disadvantage as a result. I also want to err on the side of caution. I personally would not feel comfortable making a statement or coming up with a policy, so to say, telling a rogue organization or arm of the federal government that you can't use public land for staging or any of that, because again, they're not asking permission. As one of my colleagues pointed out, they do not give a blank. I'd like to walk through, what does a policy created on this level? We say, okay, ICE, you cannot use our buildings, our parking lots, our grounds to perform your reckless duties that you're carrying out. Then we turn around and look, and if we walk through this, reports of ICE vehicles say Colley Stadium parking lot. Lowell Police responds. Again, federal jurisdiction. What can our police officers actually do in that situation? It's causing a situation where there is nothing any of us can do, and I think that's why we're all lost for the solution to this challenge. I also feel like by doing so, it sends a message to our community, a false sense of security. And I think with a situation like this, we have to be honest. Lowell police cannot stop this, unfortunately. State police cannot stop this, unfortunately. And I do not want any member of our community to look at us and say, you lied. You put a policy in place that said they couldn't do this, because none of us want this to happen. So I think I'm very thankful for all the nonprofits and organizations that have been putting in the legwork, educating people as to what rights they actually do have and what that looks like. I personally have close friends that are either facing deportation or have been deported. It's a scramble. Their family is torn apart, and it's very costly even just to get the basic information as to what the course of corrective action may be. So I wish there was a magic bullet to shield and protect our community, which there isn't. And I mean, until we can really figure out a real practical solution, we cannot sit up here and tell our residents that they will be safe from these operations. What we can do is provide as much information as possible to them as to what those rights are. And I think if we can even ensure that this information is widely available, I think that's at least the beginning of our role, is to educate our general public as to what their rights really are, because this is a federal fight, and unfortunately it impacts a local community like ours. So again, I thank our administration, I thank our police force, and I thank all the nonprofits and all the community activists that are out there in the trenches trying to do whatever they can, and we're all pretty much struggling for solutions together. So I thank you all.
Thank you, Council Robinson. Council McDonough.
Thank you. I just wanted to go once more. I always find going first, it's like I want to make sure I do all the thank yous because motion responses are tough. There was an incident, so I'm going to lead with, very bluntly, I don't really think ICE is not acting like a law enforcement agency right now. I understand, I agree with almost, I think most people that have spoken tonight, there's very little that LPD can do here. One of the things that I would hope either we are currently doing or that we could do, though, is that there was an incident over the summer across the street from me in one of the Canal Place buildings where a resident exited the building. There was a nice, well, I guess we learned they were ice later. We were in the parking lot. They got to the door before it closed and locked the exit to the building. And then and I've seen the security footage, you wind up in a situation where you have, a masked dude masked men with long guns walking around a corridor of a residential building. And I have not heard of that happening again since. However, I can only imagine the feeling that anyone who lived in that building had when you don't know that there is a law enforcement action or anything going on, and you look out your door and you see a guy with a rifle coming at you. And so I think anything in situations like this have played out not just inside buildings, but on the side of the road in Centerville, where you just suddenly have well-armed men in armor who are not clearly identified. We can say, oh, that's probably ICE. They're not reaching out to the police department beforehand. The police department has absolutely no idea. If someone calls 911 and says, there's a man with a rifle running around my neighborhood, or there's 5 men with rifles running around my neighborhood, I think we do owe, or my building, I do think we owe to the residents of the city, just an outline of what, when that call comes in, even if it does turn out to be a federal agency, when a call comes in and PD doesn't know that there's any sort of enforcement action going on, and they're getting a report of, masked, well-armed men being goons, what steps Lowell PD is taking to, I guess at least confirm that it is the federal government and that it's not just people throwing somebody in a van, or it's not just somebody running around a building with a long gun. That's all. But otherwise, I do thank you for the response. And I, last in closing, would echo a lot of what Councillor Duran said. I understand not wanting to take meaningless action or fruitless action just for the sake of saying we did something. I don't want to create the false sense of security. But if there are things that we could do, even small things, things like cleaning up some of the language in the existing ICE policy, especially if it doesn't, impact the job that LPD is doing, but does kind of further affirm that we are committed to protecting all of our residents. I think that would be a step in the right direction. So any ideas, I guess, that the police department has, that the administration has for actionable items that could actually make an impact, if any, would be appreciated. But otherwise, thank you again.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough. Councilor Nuon.
Mr. Mayor, 2 questions, one through you to the chief and one through you to the manager. Well, let's start with the chief first. Thank you, chief, for being here. I know in the past that, you stated, and you stated tonight as well, that it's not in the city policy to assist ICE in ICE immigration. So the question is, what will happen if ICE asks for help, especially with no warrant, say tomorrow and in the future?
Thank you, Councilor. So ICE frequently sends detainers to people that have been arrested by us. Those are called civil detainers, and in accordance with Commonwealth versus Lund, we are not able to hold those prisoners any longer. And one of the things that happens is, they may be eligible for bail and released, and then they're free to go. At that point, ICE is free, if they're in the city, they're free to detain them and do what they do. We don't have any control over that. I'm sure that's happened, but they haven't made that request, and we're not able to accommodate it because of the state law. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city managers. Again, it's in the past, ICE hasn't approached us and asking to use city property. Well, what would the city do if ICE asks to use the city property? Ask you, Mr. Manager.
Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the council. I don't foresee that happening. Quite frankly, even if I were to say no, which I would, I don't see that they would pay attention to my request.
If they ask, you would say no.
If they ask me, I would say no.
Thank you.
Council Scott.
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to make a motion to follow up on Council McDonough, asking for our city's solicitor, I guess, to report on any policy changes that we could make. I guess that would not be just symbolic. I mean, I have no problem taking a symbolic vote opposing ICE, but if there's anything that he's aware of that he thinks that we should be adopting, I think that would be good to hear back from him. Thank you.
Seconded by Councilor McDonough. Do you want a roll call or you want a
voice vote?
Yeas?
Yeas, fine.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Motion to accept this is and place it on file by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Liang. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Motion response H, noise ordinance. Councilor Nuon.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Chief, and thanks, Mr. Managers, for the report. I like the report. I think the key word here is enforcement. So if we could do that, because it's no more than it's more than disturbing. It really is. It's hurting the community who work a certain shift. Or whatever shift they work, and then the noise came, and the car just opened the window and just blasted up there. Just crazy. I don't like it. I know a lot of people don't like it. So
You don't like it?
Thank you, Councilor Nuon. Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's helpful, and I know a lot of residents are worried about noise. I don't know if there is a place online, or I should just look at some of the references here to find out what the noise ordinances are, so we can make sure everybody's, like all the residents, are on the same page about what can and can't be done, when. If that's easy to find, that would be helpful.
Counselor, I go right to the noise ordinance under the city's website. It's right there.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. Any other questions? Councilor Mercier.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the chief. Do city cruisers have a decibel reading in the vehicle?
Not all of them. We have about 4 or 5 of them. So they're not in every cruiser. If it's needed, we can certainly pull one out. I mean, a lot of times what we're talking about is somebody's going to make a call or a complaint, and the officer's going to go and assess the situation in a timely manner. And if it's, one of those things where they get called back a second time or a third time, they take progressive action. And if they require a decibel meeting, which usually isn't very often, we can certainly call one to the scene.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercier. Chief, if we can just continue the enforcement on Middlesex Street, the car wash will be great. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Mercier, seconded by Councilor Liang. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Motion response I. Civil Service, Councilor Nuon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Chief Udon as well for the report. It's well written and very detailed in that. I know that this report kind of highlight the expanded outreach. It's beyond the traditional recruitment that we normally have. That it go further to not just the high school but also everywhere. The community-based kind of organization as well to kind of promoting a job opportunity. So I urge the chief to continue doing that, but also look at, and also set a realistic, measurable goal for that recruitment, going forward. And if we can, to do so. And particularly, I like to see as well that, not just our police, but also our fire department too, fire chief as well, look at the, the hybrid. I know we talk about civil service exam, right? I know with that, I know that the training division for the Lowell Police Department is doing a good job in, doing a preparation session to help those who want to take the civil service exam, which is twice a year. It's a good thing that we do that. It's a good thing that we reach out to high schools and maybe go on to maybe junior high school, check with them and see if they're interested in that job and that career. But, on top of that, the hybrid hiring as well, looking at, I know, opportunity, to do more on that, because this is more like, people apply for a job in the city, with the city of Lowell, don't have to take civil service exam, right? So if you look at the makeup of your department, whether that be DPW or any department in the city that lack of, minority and women, the emphasis is going to be, okay, I want a qualified person, but if I have someone who qualify, and happen to be woman and minority, and then that should be the top of the list in terms of bringing in and nurture them. And it's good for the city to have that, a city that representative of the people that they serve, and that's what we have to aim at, for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nuon. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I would just like to comment, in I'd say the past 5 to 10 years, I do give a lot of credit to both the fire and police departments. I've said this before. I think we're getting there. It's slowly but surely we are getting there. You're starting to see such a diverse group of employees between, especially those two departments in particular. It's great to see, and I think the public sees it. I don't know how many times I've been out and about and seen an officer or a firefighter, and the first thing, kids come right up to them and start asking the questions. I see a lot more engagement. It seems like we have a younger workforce. We have a workforce that is starting to really resemble the makeup of our community. And I think it's something that this administration, I know this council, past councils, have really kind of been mindful of and kind of tried to encourage and nudge. How can we start to open the opportunity? And I'm not even saying it from like an identity perspective as much as I think it's more of outreach and notifying the community of these opportunities within our community. And I'm thankful that these two departments have been putting in that work, and I look forward to that work continuing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Liang, seconded by Councilor Rourke. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Motion response J, ordinance wage history. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank you, Mr. Manager, and the team for this report. I think this definitely requires a pretty good discussion prior to our budget process. I was part of the council when Manager Golden came in, and some of the things that we were challenged with was retention, recruitment, filling vacancies. But I think we also have to look at breakdowns in some comparative analysis. So I would like to allow my colleagues to speak, but at the end of any conversation, I think I'd like to refer this to maybe the Finance Subcommittee, if possible, please.
Motion by Councilor Robinson to refer this report to the Finance Subcommittee, seconded by Councilor Nuon. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Councilor Duran.
I just had a question on the report, which I thought was quite thorough. There's a reference to confidential employees on the first page. I just didn't understand that term. It is under the first bullet. It says, positions not covered by collective bargaining governs full-time non-union positions, including department heads, confidential employees, and other non-union personnel. So I just don't know that term.
Mr. CFO.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This is somewhat of a relic that has existed as long as I've been here, but there are, I will give the best answer that I possibly could. The employees in certain departments like the law department, the HR department, the city manager's office, often deal with information that is confidential in nature, and so in their job descriptions, they are often referred to as ordinance confidential employees. I think maybe the law department is the easiest sort of example to understand. It's nomenclature that's existed in the job descriptions as long as I've worked here, but it is only in a number of specific positions in certain departments. It's most of what we do here is public, but there are certain departments that deal with information confidential in nature.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. Motion to accept and place, Councilor Robinson?
Yeah, thank you. And I just had one question on the vote that's included in this motion response to ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell. It's not accurate. I clearly remember that vote, and it says effective upon passage, there'll be an adjustment right here. The total vote, roll call vote, 8 yeas, 2 absent, and 1 recuse. And I think when we voted for that change to the ordinance, there was 2 objections to that vote on the ordinance to adjust the ordinance employees' pay. So I don't know if we can go back and look at that. It's reflective, though, that the vote was 8 yeas, 2 absent, and 1 recuse. That's not the recollection I have when this passed in 2024.
We'll have them look into it and get back to you, Council.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 6.2, informational reports. Appleton Street project. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the council, we have Ms. Altman here. This is actually very exciting, and I do apologize. I'm looking for it. 6.2 is the Appleton Street project, and I believe it is $4.7 million in construction grant funding. So this is great news. It's modernization of the intersection, and unfortunately, it is, I believe, Ms. Altman, one of the top 10 intersections in the NMCOG world of crash intersections. But if it's okay with you, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to have Ms. Altman, who has done a fabulous job with this particular piece, explain it a little bit more to the council.
Ms. Altman.
If I may, I am very excited about this project. We have been working with a designer to put together design plans and trying to get construction funding because it is quite a large involved intersection, the triangle and the Green, Church, Appleton, Central, Gorham. There's a lot going on. It's a high crash location, one of the highest in the cities. And we have a design, and we were granted the money by the state, who has really decided to put their money where their mouth is with helping municipalities address some of these high crash locations. So I noticed that the graphic was not in your packet for tonight, so I have one for you in hard copy, and I am very excited about this, and you have a vote in front of you later on this evening that will enable us to take this money and use it.
Thank you, Ms. Altman. Councilor,
do you want to take the vote now?
That's what I was going to do, but I'll go to Councilor Duran first. I'll suspend the rules for you. Councilor Duran.
Yep, thank you. I just had a couple of questions because we didn't see the map, so I wasn't sure exactly what was going to be done there. So it's helpful to maybe just hear you say it. Trying to figure out whether the work is going to impact the restaurant Trem Kaipira that's new on the corner there, and a great Brazilian fusion restaurant for anybody who hasn't been there yet.
Only in a good way.
Okay.
Right now, they have barriers up. What is happening right now is the streets are not aligned right, and people can't see the traffic signals, so they go through one or the other of the traffic signals. They're confused. So what the plan is to widen the sidewalks. We're not really removing any vehicular capacity, but better defining the capacity. Improved force signals will be improved. A better crossing to the plaza from whatever happens near the ICC and the new developments that are happening there. There are a lot of pedestrians that cross mid-block, so we will have a better protected crossing for them there. And yeah, just upgrading the signals to modern technology will greatly help that intersection. But we are planning on additional pedestrian improvements through wider sidewalks. There is also the plan to include a better bus stop at the very well populated bus stop in front of that plaza.
Great, thank you. The other question is, I think there must be something historical there, but when one is coming from downtown down Gorham Street and Trumkaipira is off to your left, like ahead of you, many people make the left turn there onto Appleton Street. And I don't, but it seems like it's almost a left turn allowed on red. And so there just must have been once that case, because it's the only place that I know of where people do that. So will it be clear whether or not that left turn is allowed? Because right now people just make that turn all the time. Thank you.
Just to be clear, you are in Massachusetts allowed to make a left on red when it's a one-way to a one-way.
Okay.
So, but it will be better. It will be very clear. Like this, everything will be upgraded. Signage, it'll all be clear. We will be removing my favorite little left turn sneak lane there, but you know, it is impacting me as well. So, but it will be much clearer, much safer for everybody involved: pedestrians, vehicles, bus riders, everybody. And we are trying to install bike facilities where we can in the city. So we are taking the opportunity to do a little bit of that as well.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Altman. This is, I feel like it's like Christmas morning for me. I have hated this section of the city for as long as I have interacted with the city. I hate it in the car. I hate it walking. I hate it running. I hate it pulling my wagon. I hate it all the time. And this is really exciting. This is genuinely exciting. I know, every time there's a project, we all say thank you and you're doing great, and you are every time there's a project. But this is a really cool. This is really cool. I'm not going to keep talking because I have nothing else to say except this is incredible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough, for telling us you hate it. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just echo the same. This is very exciting, especially with the new rotary that's happening, roundabout. Sorry, I won't call it a rotary. I got corrected for that. The roundabout happened on Gorham, and how they said they were going to be redoing the lights at Elm Street, kind of to sync everything up together.
Right.
So I'm sure this will help with that congestion coming in and out of the area. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Scott. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Nuon, seconded by Councilor Mercier. Motion to suspend the rules and take 7.4 out of order by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Mercier. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 7.4 vote, apply, accept, expend $4,745,366 MassDOT grant. Waive full reading and second reading by title. Vote, authorize the city manager to accept, appropriate, and expend a grant award from the Massachusetts Department of Transportation in the amount of $745,366. Motion to adopt by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Nuon. Roll call.
Mayor Gitschier.
Yes.
Council Duran.
Yes.
Council Liang.
Yes.
Council McDonough.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
Council Dakota.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Thank you, Ms. Altman. 7, vote from the city manager. 7.1, vote, accept gift of $30,000 from All People's Church. Waive full reading and second reading by title. Vote, authorize the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a gift from All People Church of $30,000 to be used by the Lowell Police Department. Motion to adopt by Councilor Nuon, seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Mercier?
I just wanted to say I was so impressed by the fact that this church is relatively new here. $30,000 to the police department for certain things that make a lot of sense. And last week or the week before, there were $10,000 to the senior center. I was so overwhelmed by that. I sent him a personal thank you card from myself and my colleagues. I hope they're not upset, but I said the city is so grateful for this and your generosity. Thank you.
There's still 15,000 more coming for the fire department. When I was there, they gave out, so there's still more coming. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mayor Gitschier.
Yes.
Council Duran.
Yes.
Council Liang.
Yes.
Council McDonough.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
Council Dakota.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. 7.2, vote, accept, expend $19,674.59 EOPSS Firefighter Safety Equipment Grant. Waive full reading and second reading by title. Vote, authorize the city manager to accept and expend from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security in the Department of Fire Services regarding FY26 Firefighter Safety Equipment Grant Award in the amount of $19,674.59 for the City of Lowell Fire Department.
Move approval.
Move approval by Council Mercier, seconded by Council Rourke. Roll call.
Mayor Gitschier.
Yes.
Council Duran.
Yes.
Council Liang.
Yes.
Council McDonough.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Chow. Yes. Council Dakota.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. 7.3, vote, apply, accept, expend $173,154 Community Biodiversity Grant. Waive full reading and second reading by title. Vote, authorize the city manager to apply for, to accept, and expend a Community Biodiversity Grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Fish and Games for the use in the City of Lowell, administered through the Department of Planning and Development. Motion to accept, Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor McDonough. Roll call.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say this is great. I filed a motion first. Originally, it was given to me by, an idea was given to me by a resident in Centerville to look at solar panel installation on the Robinson Hill. And the study came back, it wasn't feasible. But now we see, another resident recommended look at a pollinator garden on that same space. And it's great to see that a funding mechanism was available, and thank you to DPD and everybody that pursued this grant and was able to bring this to fruition. I think it's huge to see that, hey, at first the intended use or the looked at use wasn't there, and I think the community is going to benefit tremendously. And it's also twofold because it's going to be a lot less maintenance for our DPW to have to compete with. So thank you all to make this happen.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mayor Gitschier.
Yes.
Council Duran.
Yes.
Council Liang.
Yes.
Council McDonough.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Council Noon. Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
Council Dakota.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. 8, reports from subcommittees. 8.1, Economic Development Subcommittee, April 7th, 2026. Councilor Robinson, do you want to hold off on this, or do you want to do the report tonight?
I'll hold off, please, and have a report ready for next week.
Thank you. 8.2, Wire Inspector Report. Boston Gas Company, DBA National Grid, request to replace existing gas main with approximately 1,580 feet of 6-inch plastic main in portions of Seal Street and Middlesex Street. Request to install 30 feet of 4-inch gas main in Willie Street, extending 24-inch cast iron main in Dutton Street to service units at 6 Wigan Street. Mass Electric Company, DBA National Grid, and Verizon NE request to install 1 JO pole, Washer Street. Request to install 1 JO pole, Lawrence Street. Request to install 3 JO poles, Wood Street. Request to install 1 JO pole on Agawam Street. Request to install 1 JO pole on Varnum Ave. Request to install 1 JO pole on Wilder Street. Request to install 1 JO pole on Nesmith Street of the intersection of East Merrimack Street. Request to install 1 JO pole on Nesmith Street of the intersection of Rogers Street. Motion to accept and adopt accompanying order by Councilor Nuon, seconded by Councilor Dakota.
There's a registered speaker here, Mr. Mayor. Jonathan Grossman.
Good evening, Jonathan Grossman, 83 Varnum Avenue. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. As you may recall, a couple of weeks ago, I asked some questions with respect to National Grid or Boston Gas decision with respect to replacing the 1,500 feet of main pipe on Sales Street. And the answer, what I asked was, had they done the necessary analysis to determine that it was in the public interest to replace the pipe as opposed to repair it either now or later? And did they do an analysis to explain why they had rejected the idea of looking at alternatives to replacing the pipe and using other means of energy, such as electrification? This isn't something that I dreamed up. This is actually mandated by the Department of Public Utilities for them to do that and state law. And they gave a partial answer. They said, well, it didn't fit the criteria for relining. They didn't address at all the issue of non-pipe alternatives, and they didn't talk about other possible ways of repairing the pipe or explain what, in fact, their criteria was. The reason this matters is not just because we want to comply with the Commonwealth's climate laws, but because ratepayers, Lowell residents who have Boston Gas and pay bills, are paying for this activity. And it costs $4 million a mile, plus or minus, to replace gas pipe. That's a lot of money. The Sales Street would come to over $1 million. Who's paying for that? Ratepayers, Boston Gas ratepayers, of whom quite a few of them are Lowell residents. Repair rather, is like a few grand. So we have an interest in this. Boston Gas National Grid has an interest in it also because when they replace pipes, they're allowed to get a return on investment for that, a profit for that, for their equity investors. That doesn't happen with repair. So we know that they have a financial interest in replacement, and we also know they're asking for a rate hike of 9 to 10%. Some of you were at the public hearing where there was a lot of people objecting to it. So it's in the public interest to know the answer of whether they are seriously considering much cheaper alternatives such as repair. And we haven't got that answer. It wasn't in the wire inspector report. I'm sure it's not something the wire inspector would necessarily know. But I'm hoping we can get those answers, and I would urge the city to look at this as a way to help Lowell residents deal with one of our major problems, which is high energy costs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grossman. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 9, petition 9.1, 1 property damage. Motion to refer to Law Department for report and recommendation by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 10, City Council Executive Session. 10.1 Executive Session to consider and discuss the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, the Senior Center, 276 Broadway Street, public discussion of which may have a detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the city. Motion to enter executive session and adjourn from that session by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor McDonough. Roll call.
Mayor Gitschier.
Yes.
Councilor Duran.
Yes.
Councilor Liang.
Yes.
Councilor McDonough.
Yes.
Councilor Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Nuon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Are there any announcements?
Betty.
Seeing none, we will, thank you, Mr. McDonough. Seeing none, we'll go to executive session. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Betty.
Thank you.
Good night.
Sorry, let me get this out of here. Okay.
How are you?